Let me check my cheat sheet. Let me check my cheat. Hi, this is Sean from Time and Talk. Happy New Year and welcome to another one of my videos. I thought today I would make a video about the differences between the Speedmaster Professional and the first Amiga in space. I'm wearing my first Amiga in space today, and I thought I would do a bit of a versus video, the relative merits of both of the watches, the specs, as well as a little bit of a conclusion about which one I think is the best buy. Okay, first of all, the Speedmaster Professional, or the Speedmaster, was first introduced in 1957. It was a CK2998, also known as the Broad Arrow. You can actually still buy a version of the Broad Arrow now, and that's another option. But I think most people's options will be between this Professional and the first Amiga in space because they're relatively similar in price and they're readily available from most ADs. In terms of when the Speedmaster became what we know as the Speedmaster today, in 1964, Amiga first started using the designation Professional on their dials. Up until that point, the watch had been more of a racing watch. After the moon landing, obviously Amiga changed the back of the case back of the Speedmaster to reflect that, and it says the first and only watch worn on the moon as we know it today. So roughly around about 1969, the Speedmaster became kind of what we know as the Speedmaster Professional today, and that's what we'll be talking about really. None of the pre-moon watches or none of the vintage watches or anything, just the bog standard Speedmaster that you can get from any AD. In terms of some specifications of the Speedmaster, as you probably know, is 42mm. It has a 20mm lug width. It has Hesselite crystal, which back in the day, most watches tended to have a mineral crystal before sapphire was invented, if you like. It was kept like that because Hesselite is more of a good option for astronauts because sapphire will shatter, and obviously that would be dangerous if you're in a zero gravity environment. If you like getting into all the machines and stuff, you wouldn't like that. You can get the Speedmaster Pro on a bracelet, a steel bracelet, or on a leather strap. I think it's black crocodile strap. It has 50-meter water resistance, and it has the caliber 1861 movement. The original Speedmasters had the 321 movement, but obviously we're not talking about those today. We're talking about the bog standard Speedmaster that you can buy from the AD. So that's the Speedmaster Professional. Onto the first Amiga in space. The first Amiga in space is based on a watch called the CK2998, which was first introduced in 1959. Called the first Amiga in space because it was indeed the first Amiga that was worn in space. An astronaut called Wally Schirra actually bought the watch because he liked it and he wore it into space as an astronaut would, and then Amiga many years later decided to commemorate that watch. It is quite similar to the Professional, but it does have a few subtle and some not so subtle differences. So in terms of the specs, the watch is 39.7mm, so it's about 2mm less wide, if you like, than the Speedmaster Professional. A lot of people say, and it's probably true, that it is to do with the lack of crown guards. The original Speedmasters didn't have crown guards, and this one doesn't as well. This does not come on a bracelet, so it comes on a leather strap, a brown calf leather strap with a normal buckle, as opposed to a deployant clasp, which the other Speedmaster comes on when you buy it on leather. It can be fitted onto a bracelet, so some people have recommended on forums and things like that the 1125 bracelet with either, let me check my cheat sheet, either the 560 or 617 end links. This, I've seen pictures of it and I'll put one up on the screen. It looks really good on the bracelet, and it is a shame really that you can't get it from the AD on a bracelet, because that would allow it to have some of the plus points, if you like, of the Pro. It has a 19mm lug width. For some, that is a deal breaker. So 19mm lug width essentially means that it's more difficult to get bracelets that will fit it. Perhaps straps too, though I just put 20mm straps on it. It's a numbered edition. It's not limited edition, so my particular one is around the 5,000 mark. As far as I'm aware, it's still being made. There's no suggestion that it's limited or that it's difficult to get hold of, or that it will increase in value or anything like that, so I wouldn't be thinking that. In terms of some of the differences, it's got, as opposed to the Pro, it's got some applied details on the dial. So if you can see, the Amiga logo is applied, and the handset is also slightly different. So it's got leaf hands, and they're in steel. For the time function and for the chronograph function, it's got kind of plastic straight hands. It also has, unlike the Pro, sapphire crystal, which for some is great because it's less prone to scratches, but for others it's kind of not keeping with the vintage vibe of the watch in general, and with Speedmasters more generally too, as most Speedmasters do have Hesslight crystal. So I've ran through the specs. What do I think of the watches relative to each other? Well, I think personally that the majority of people should buy the Speedmaster Pro. The reason that I think that, well, there are a few reasons why I think that. First of all, the Speedmaster Pro, you can buy it on a bracelet or on a leather strap. I think what I would do is buy it on a bracelet, and then you can swap out for leather as and when you wish. That for me just makes it more versatile. It can go with more outfits, more occasions, things like that. And also, it's always just really good to have a bracelet as well as the leather strap, whereas the first Amiga in space only comes on a leather strap. As well, I just think that the Speedmaster Pro has more history to it. I know obviously the first Amiga in space is commemorating an older watch actually, but the Pro has that, it was worn on the moon. It's basically remained unchanged for 4+ decades, and it has that kind of history to it that for me the first Amiga in space doesn't. It's essentially, the first Amiga in space is a replica. I love the watch, I'm not sagging it off necessarily, but the Pro feels like a historical watch. As well, in terms of the Speedmaster Pro, the vintage details like the Hesslight crystal, I mean, I never had any problems with it becoming scratched or anything like that. But if it did become scratched, you could just apply polywatch to the watch and clear out the scratches, which is actually quite fun, in quotation marks obviously. But we don't have that luxury on the first Amiga in space, which mine actually does have a scratch on the sapphire at 4 o'clock, so I won't be able to polish that out obviously. So I think that if you are to buy the Speedmaster and you've got a choice between these two watches, I would go for the Pro in most cases. There's only two caveats to that really. If you've got a really small wrist, I would go for the first Amiga in space. It does wear, even though the differences are minute. It's just the crown guards really that makes the difference in size. It does wear quite a lot smaller. So I've got a small wrist, 6.25 inches, and it does wear quite a lot smaller, quite more kind of vintagey in its look, if you like, particularly with the strap, which tapers quite a lot. And also, one of the negatives of the Speedmaster Pro is the crown guards. Actually, they protect the crown, but they do make it a little bit difficult to wind sometimes, whereas the first Amiga in space doesn't have that. So that's my opinion of those two watches. I personally, in most cases, would go for the Pro. But if you've got a small wrist, or if you just prefer the first Amiga in space, that's up to you. But I think in general, the Pro is the better buy. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think the Speedmaster Pro is better? Do you disagree with what I've said? Have you got anything to add to what I discussed during the video? Thanks very much for watching. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Bye bye.